This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the latest edition of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. I am your host, Vito Chirco, alongside nobody, as John Charles Macaroon is actively working covering the Lions. So he is currently on duty covering the Lions, I'll say. And he's busy being a father and homeschooling his daughters, and he had an issue on Tuesday with Madeline and with their laptop, and he had to deal with that and resolve that issue by lending her his laptop. So I don't think John was too pleased with how Tuesday went for him and his daughter with the first day of homeschooling, and that would be truly virtual learning in the state of Michigan, specifically for his daughter and her school. So that was that. We've been busy covering the Lions, but still lending our time to covering the Tigers as well. John was there at Copa, that is Comerica Park in downtown Detroit, on Tuesday night for the first of two for the Tigers against the Milwaukee Brewers. They won Tuesday on the heels of a stellar performance by Spencer Turnbull, in which he went 6 innings, and it was Ron Gardenhire's first game back there after dealing with the stomach bug, and he allowed Turnbull to go 6, and he was smooth sailing through 6, and had thrown already 80-something pitches, but my belief was that he was going to go out there for the 7th, at least to start the 7th inning. Now, he didn't get that opportunity, and I thought maybe he should have. And Gardenhire instead went to his bullpen and inserted Gregory Soto, the hard-throwing left-hander, who was shaky in the 7th. Ultimately, got the job done, got out of a jam that he had created himself, and got through that 7th inning. And then in the 8th, Buck Farmer, the veteran right-hander, came in, and he made it look easy. And then in the 9th, Jose Cisnero, who could be their new closer, maybe now one day their closer of the future with all of his great stuff, which I think is even better than Gregory Soto and Buck Farmer. So he got the opportunity once again in a blowout game to come in a game in which the Tigers were up big and won big against the Brew Crew. But Cisnero did struggle, and he blew the shutout that Turnbull had thrown, and that the bullpen arms before Cisnero had maintained. So Cisnero did not look his sharpest. The Brewers eventually did score, and what is ensued is the Tigers, well, they won the game convincingly, but did not win it in a shutout fashion. Once again, though, in summing all of it up, Turnbull was terrific. So, and it was a big bounce-back game for Turnbull, as his previous start against the Brewers, he had walked 5 Brew Crew batters over 4 1/3 innings, and that was last Wednesday in Milwaukee. And as you can tell, I got a little bit of something in my nose here going on. So please, just deal with me, and hopefully it's not too bad for you guys to deal with. But anyways, to sum it all up, Turnbull, he looks sharp, and he is the ace of the Tigers' starting pitching staff right now, to say the least. Now, a guy that came into the season as the opening day starter when the Tigers started off the season on the road in Cincinnati, a guy that was the ace for the Tigers last year, and did tail off in the second half of the year, though, after a terrific start to the season. And that would be left-hander Matthew Boyd, who comes into now, the day of this recording, Wednesday night's matchup with the Brewers with a 6.64 ERA. And actually, the game starts, by the way, to be specific here, at 1:10 Wednesday at Comerica Park. It is a YouTube televised game, meaning Matt Shepard and Kurt Gibson and Jack Morris and all those FSD broadcasters get the day off, with the game being broadcast on YouTube. And I believe John Morosi actually will be part of the broadcast. And all as a part of Roberto Clemente Day. And it's a humanitarian award for what individuals from all 30 ball clubs do in the community. So one, by the way, now let's just specify here, one player from each team is actually considered for the award, for the Roberto Clemente Award. Once again, a humanitarian award for service done in the community. The Tigers candidate this year, or, guy nominated for the award, is Miguel Cabrera, a guy who has done a lot through his foundation to give back to the community. So, guy well deserving of the honor and maybe to win the award this year as well. Now, back to the series in the game, specifically on Wednesday for the Tigers, once again against the Brewers, who are also under 500, by the way, just like the Tigers, who are barely out of a playoff spot, trailing the Yankees for the second wild card spot in the American League currently. The Yankees have terrifically fallen on hard times. At 500, 21-21 going into Wednesday, losers of 15 of their last 20. They had swept the Red Sox before that and once again have gone on this tailspin ever since. All the injuries have mounted for them to Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. Their starting pitching has not been as sharp as lately either. And Garrett Cole, example A, realistically, the ace of their staff who was superb to start the year at a peerless ERA, could not be touched. It seemed like it was K.M. batters left and right. Well, he's looked a lot more human of late, and the Yankees have suffered as well subsequently. Even though I just saw Tuesday night in the defense of J-Hap, not J-A-Hap, but J-Hap, he looked really good in Buffalo against the leaders. The best team in New York right now is the Toronto Blue Jays, who are playing their home ball games this season in Buffalo at their minor league ballpark in Buffalo. And you can tell it's a minor league park, but hey, it's no big deal with no fans in the stands this season. So the Jays have been terrific this year. They have hit, which we knew they would. They have pitched better than last year, and that has been the difference for the Blue Jays and the reason why they're barely out of first place right now in the American League East Division. Tampa Bay Rays there in first place, the Jays in second, meaning those two teams right now out of the AL East are the two playoff teams from the American League East Division in 2020. And why that is the case is because in total there are 8 playoff teams going to be playing in the playoffs this year from each league. And the 8 are determined by, first, division winners, followed by the second-place finisher in each of the 3 divisions in each league. So you have 6 teams right there through the top 2 teams in each division of each league, plus the next 2 best teams after that, as in the 2 wildcard teams, which has been the case now in Major League Baseball for the last 5 to 6 years, where they've had that one-game playoff, too, between the number 1 and number 2 wildcard teams from each league. So instead of 6, the league is going with 8 now. So American and NL both, once again, have 8 playoff representatives, meaning the Yankees are fighting just to make the playoffs, and the Tigers actually have a shot to get in. Now, if they leapfrog the Yankees, who once again, they trail right now, Tigers at 19-21, the Yankees at 21-21, and I imagine they will eventually lock up that second playoff spot. The American League Central Division, the best division in all of baseball right now, the 3 top teams all over 500. And the Twins right now, I believe, hold the first of 2 wildcard spots in the American League. And they do, as the Indians right now and White Sox are right there tied atop the American League Central Division with a record of 26-16. The White Sox have given the Tigers trouble all season long. Really, of the top 3 clubs in the AL Central, the Chi Sox are the only one which have constantly given the Tigers trouble and that the Tigers haven't been able to beat up to this point. The Tigers, at times at least, have had their way against the Twinkies and against the Indians. Not so much recently over the course of this past 5-game series with the Twins that was played at Target Field in Minnesota, the Tigers only winning 1 of the 5, losing both of the games in the doubleheader last Friday, and then only winning 1 the rest of the way in the series. So they were close, though, all throughout that week and all throughout that series until Monday, which was a Labor Day, in which the Tigers really were killed. And Fulmer, well, he looked all right through 2, and the 3rd inning did not look great. And he wasn't striking out guys, and he didn't look as effective as he had in his previous outing when he K'd, I believe, 5 batters and looked like, well, he was the Fulmer of old all of a sudden once again. So in the case of him and many others this year, it realistically, by the way, guys, is extended spring training. We want to see them continuing getting better, continuing to develop, especially with the young players on this year's ball club. The mass amount of guys that have been called up to the big leagues for the first time in their careers, or maybe just for the second time because they only had a little cup of tea last year, such as Willi Castro, who has hit the heck out of the ball up to this point. Had a nice game as well on Tuesday night against the Brew Crew in that demolishing of the Brewers at Chirco Park. So it's been great to see him get a lot of reps in the Tigers lineup, and at shortstop as well, where he has struggled with the glove, and you can even say mightily. And that's because, guess what? He's a subpar defender as a middle infielder. He will never be a stellar guy with a glove, and we know now, especially at the shortstop position. It's a very tough position to play for anybody, let alone a guy that really isn't great defensively anyways. So thus far this year in his reps at the major league level at short, we have seen Willi Castro make some errant throws, make some bad plays, and just look rough there, fielding the position. And that is something I expect to see of him moving forward as well. But the bright spot has been his bat, and even hitting for power. And yesterday, Tuesday night's game against the Brewers once again, he turned on a ball that was thrown inside to him, and he turned on it and hit it into right field very impressively, with that being said. So Castro has showcased some glimpses of brilliance, let's say, with the bat up to this point. And good for a youngster who they got from the Cleveland Indians in that Leonis Martin trade. And after Castro, the other two really huge bright spots right now for the Tigers in their lineup are Victor Reyes, who has been hitting number 1 and playing center field since Jacoby Jones went down with that injury, and which was a result, by the way, of getting hit by a Brewers pitcher. And then we saw Jonathan Scope go down as well and have a right wrist contusion that he suffered because of a hit by pitch on Tuesday night. Subsequently, he came out of the game, and we'll see what actually happens to him. Ron Gardenhire did come out, though, after Tuesday's game and say that Scope thought he could play in Wednesday's matinee contest with the Brew Crew. Anyways, back to Victor Reyes, the power-hitting even center fielder for the Tigers, who really is better in the corner outfield with the glove than covering all that spacious ground out there in center field at Chirco Park. But typically, even though he will take bad routes when going after the ball hit off of the bat, he will adjust and end up getting to the ball somehow, some way. Maybe not taking the proper route to the ball each and every single time, but he typically, because of his speed and lankiness and ability to stride, because of his long legs, will make up the ground to get to the ball and to field it cleanly, ultimately, whether it be in left or right field or in center field, where he has been starring in once again since Jacoby Jones went down with that season-ending injury that he suffered because of a hit by pitch from a Brewers pitcher last week. So, like what he has done at the top of the Tigers' order, he has been a spark plug, capable of getting to pitches that, like Vladimir Guerrero back in his heyday, only could get to, that are low and out of the zone. But because of his height, 6'5" frame, and lankiness, he has the ability to reach and to hit everything, no matter if it's in the zone or out of the zone. So I've loved his progression at the plate, which has been showcased to the masses since the second half of last year, when he really came into his own at the plate and started hitting for average. A guy that right now is hitting well above 300, along with a counterpart of his in the lineup that I didn't mention yet. So the third of 3 guys that I want to mention here that really have showcased some glimpses of brilliance at the plate, and especially lately, that guy would be the Tigers' current starting first baseman in Jeimer Candelario, the byproduct of Alaviola's best trade as Tigers GM when he dealt his son. It took him dealing his own son, catcher Alex Avila, and reliever Justin Wilson to the Chicago Cubs to land Candelario and Isaac Paredes. We're going to go with Isaac Paredes, who can play third, play second, hit for some pop himself, has struggled at the bat of late, or, at the plate of late, but he's a guy with some power potential that can be maybe a guy with a subpar glove, especially up the middle, but be a guy that can hit for power and be a run producer in the middle of the Tigers' order one day. Might have to play a little bit more now, too, if Schoop's injury is more severe than we know up to this point. So that could still very well happen. But back to the Candy Man, and he was eating a ton of candy at the candy store on Tuesday night. Hit a home run. Has showcased that power stroke to the masses up to this point in the campaign as well, or along with a very good OBP. And an eye, which obviously plays a big part in having a high on-base percentage. OBP, high on-base percentage, is what I'm talking about here with Jeimer Candelario. A guy that will look at pitches, man. He's not going to swing at everything. More than likely, when he is focused and really in the zone, guys, he is not going to swing at a pitch out of the zone. He's locked in. It has been at the plate for a large portion of this season. Had that 0 for 17 or 0 for 18 stretch at the plate to start off his campaign. But ever since, hitting 360-something, slugging as well, hitting home runs, hit one once again Tuesday night. And his Batman has been supremely hot of late. A great thing out of Candy, a great stride he has made at the plate after a disastrous 2019 campaign and start to the 2020 season. He has made the necessary adjustments since. Once again, is not really reaching out of the zone for pitches, is seeing pitches, is making the pitcher work, and because of it, he's getting on base via the walk. So not just by getting a single, an extra base hit, or by hitting a home run. He is also getting on base, guys, by seeing pitches and by drawing base on balls. He is a guy as a switch hitter that kind of, at least a little bit, reminds me of another former Tiger switch hitter in the supremely gifted Victor Martinez, who was a better hitter all around. He was, okay? He was more of a pure hitter than Jeimer Candelario. But what Jeimer is showing right now at the plate is pure hitting ability. And a little bit of power mixed in, which Vimar had as well, a little bit of power mixed in, and I think a bit more power than Jeimer features in his bat, but maybe that Jeimer can develop one day as well as he does progress in his major league career. Because we do have to remember, he is still young, can still develop and get better, and specifically not only at the plate, but also at first base defensively, a position that has gotten the best of him at times. We saw on Monday against the Twins at Target Field. They're on Labor Day, when I think a lot of people were watching the Tigers because, hey, what's better than watching some baseball on Labor Day? And with the Tigers being competitive and kind of in a playoff race here, fighting for that second American League wildcard spot. So we saw a situation in which he wasn't over enough on the first base line to field really a light hit ground ball down the line that another first baseman with more experience guarding the line would have fielded easily, because he would have been over on top of, or at least closer to, that fair/foul line down the first base line. So Candy wasn't there in time and needs to make those adjustments to become a better fielding first baseman, which is a position he's going to field for the inevitable, for the foreseeable future at this point, at least the remainder of the 2020 campaign with the injury to C.J. Cron. Cron will not play another game in a Tigers uni, it looks like, at the very least for this season. So it means Candy will get a ton of more reps as the Tigers starting first baseman. Once again, you look, across the diamond now, and Paredes is playing at third base. Sergio Alcantara. How about Alcantara, too, man, with the power stroke? Hitting for extra base power. A guy that had, I think, a combined 9 home runs in his minor league career with the Tigers. Comes up in his first major league AB, hits a home run, by the way, too, and then had a nice looking triple on Tuesday night in that demolishing of Brewers pitching. So Sergio has hit so far. He can field the hot corner. He can field, I think, as well up the middle, because he has a nice glove. A glove that is adaptable, per se, to play all positions on the infield. And not first base. He's not tall enough, but I bet he could even play over there and scoop some balls up and look all right. And probably as good as Jeimer at this point as well, because Sergio, once again, is very talented with the glove. Has to keep developing the bat. But so far, so good from Sergio in his first few at-bats as a major leaguer. At shortstop, you have Nico Goodrum, who is currently hurt. Subsequently, Willi Castro has been getting a ton of reps, as I already mentioned, at the position. A guy with a weak glove there and an errant throwing arm at times. But if he learns how to field that position better, maybe, just maybe he will, Tigers fans, then he could be. Why couldn't he be the long-term Tigers solution at shortstop with his, heavy-duty, consistently hitting bat? Because if he keeps hitting, I'll just say this, and I think everybody realizes this already, but I'll just say it for all those in the back that have to hear it again and loudly, that Willi Castro, man, if he keeps hitting, he's going to have a spot in this Tigers lineup every day, okay? And not just the rest of the way this season, but in 2021 and beyond. And it goes back really to the premise of my discussion with all of you here on this week's edition of Tigers Talk. And it's that a lot of these guys and young dudes such as Willi, it's about developing on the scene as they get their first real taste of big league action. It's about them getting better as time goes on. So they're going to go through the rookie struggles. Willi still being a rookie. But can he get better? Can he, guys, as time goes on? That's the key in the development of all of these first-year or second-year guys like Willi Castro. And then you look at Isaac Paredes, too, a guy we want to feature in our discussion on this week's edition of Tigers Talk because he has potential with that bat. It started off really well, hitting above 300, hitting for some pop. And we know he still has that in his bat. Can be a guy that I think, hits for power as maybe a beefier shortstop like a Yunel Escobar or a Johnny Peralta. And hopefully can just field well enough, and I think at least field the routine balls at shortstop to be that guy that could play shortstop one day and as a full-time shortstop. And if not that, because he's too bulky, you can have him at third base, which Peralta played at one point, remember, with the Indians. And Yunel Escobar played that. A guy that I think there's a parallel of Paredes, too. I think there is something there, and you can make that comparison. So, Paredes, at least you can say it once again, there is something there. There is potential with the bat. And you can say that with the variety of guys right now on the infield. And, once again, you have that case with Willi Castro. You have that case with Jeimer Candelario. Better suited to play third base defensively. And, God, he was a stud there before he had to be moved over when C.J. Cron went down with that season-ending injury. But Jeimer, man, at least once again showing signs that his bat is developing. And you have to love it as a Tigers fan. Same thing with Victor Reyes out there in the corner outfield and in center field lately, as I already mentioned. So you have a lot of positives there, and maybe some guys the Tigers have just kind of lucked upon in finding something and in hopefully having something for years to come, too. And after you look at the lineup and, the positives in it, and especially 1 through 5, outside of Miguel Cabrera, realistically, who continues to struggle realistically, even though he had that 13-game hitting streak, which was ended on Monday against the Twins. Everybody else there, yeah, you see some positives. And then you go to the Tigers starting rotation, and you don't see as many, but you do have some. You do have a couple of them in the form of Tarik Skubal, first and foremost. Almost forget about Mize. You can throw him a little bit to the curbside right now because you got to focus on Skubal first and foremost because he's had more success than Mize up to this point. Mize is still struggling to get to the 5th inning. He can't go 5 right now for you. He's getting into high pitch counts way too often, and I think because of the fact that he's trying to be cute and can't locate well enough with his fastball and his other pitches, his split finger as well, which is a dynamite pitch that can get batters out via the strikeout, but getting it over consistently enough for batters to fear it and to respect it. Really, to respect it, first and foremost. That's the most important thing here for Mize. Not only for him to trust in throwing it over the plate consistently, that fastball and that split finger, but also for the opposition to respect it as a pitch that's capable of coming in as a strike consistently. If the opposition does not, and if the opposition is a lineup comprised of guys that primarily like to see pitches and work the count, Well, guess what? They're not going to be swinging at those balls in the dirt or outside and that are thrown erratically by Casey Mize. And no matter what pitch it may be, but especially for Mize's sake, pitches that he wants to command much better moving forward if he wants to have success at the major league level and start getting guys out more consistently, not only via the strikeout, but also via contact to limit his pitch count in future games, which is something he will need to do. We'll need to for sure focus on in order for himself to go deeper into ball games in the near future, but also in the long-term future. As for Tarik Skubal, also a pick in that 2018 Major League Baseball amateur draft, picked in the 9th round, could end up being better guys than Casey Mize. And he's already showing signs of that right now as we speak here on Tigers Talk this week. You look at what Skubal has done up to this point, and he has even K'd batters. He has pitched deeper into games, has pitched 6 innings, has gotten some big boys out at the plate, and has looked more sharp and dynamite at times. And I will say more sharp on a consistent basis up to this point than Casey Mize. And all eyes have been on the Mize, right? Because the prize is the Mize. No pun intended. But Skubal, once again, guys, could very well be as good as Mize moving forward. And guess what? That is not a bad problem for the Tigers to potentially have on their hands. And all of that being said, all of what I've just talked about with the Tigers' young players, hitters and pitchers, it showcases that Avila and company in that Tigers farm system, maybe they have found some guys, top prospects that we thought could make it to the big leagues and look good one day, but also the hidden gems. They maybe have stumbled upon a few hidden gems from their farm that were overlooked by other clubs, such as Victor Reyes, a Rule 5 pick of the Tigers. Maybe they have found something with these dudes. And maybe the Tigers farm system is a little bit better at developing players than we once had thought. And if that's the case, hey, big time credit to Avila and that Tigers front office and to their farm system. And those guys that work on the players on the farm, such as Alan Trammell and company. Because as of right now, once again, comparatively speaking, when you compare last year to this year, we have seen a big jump in the ability of the talent from last year to this year. Guys developing and rapidly developing as time has gone on from last year to this year. And once again, developing on the scene, too, as they've started off their big league careers or at least gotten their reps in whatever year it may be for them in their big league careers. But only a few years into it, we've seen them taking strides in seemingly every day this season as the season has progressed. And once again, that's a clear-cut sign that the farm system is developing and much more than what we had seen last year, what we thought going into the 2020 campaign. And I think once the season was abbreviated because of COVID too and had its later start, I think a lot of us Tigers fans and pundits alike thought the Tigers weren't going to develop almost anybody, right? Or be able to really see strides taken from a bunch of these dudes that I already noted. And we still had thought that Casey Mize and Skubal had a great shot of being called up, and that Mize for sure would, and that he should have been a lot earlier than he actually was. But for these other guys, especially these Tigers hitters who already had their taste of big league action in years past, to see them develop this year, once again, that is a credit to Avila and company when it comes to developing their young talent. Something that I truly would not have believed and could not have even envisioned saying before this season did kick off. And guys, with all of that being said, that has been this week's edition of Tigers Talk with Chirco and company. I hope you all have enjoyed what I have given to you without my sidekick and partner in crime. That would be John Charles Macaroon. But I imagine he will be back with me, and I will be patched in via the phone line, okay, here on Tigers Talk for another fresh edition of the podcast next week. Good luck to the Tigers the rest of this week. Hopefully they stay alive in that playoff race, and we have some playoff baseball to talk about for the Tigers next week when I join you again for another episode of Tigers Talk with Chirco and company. Adios for now.